Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Waiting to be profiled are musician, painter Bob Neuwirth and composer Artie Butler, who has been awarded over 40 gold and platinum records. Bobby Neuwirth was an artist of many types. He's painted, he's been a musician, he's continues to write music. So we're going to find out what he was doing. But he was born in Ohio. He started painting as a teenager, and he went to Ohio University. Then, under the guidance of the great artist Jim Dine, who was just a school teacher then, wasn't he? He was just an assistant. He went to the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. Why didn't you stay at Ohio and work with Jim Dine?
Well, hi, Joan. I never intended to go to Ohio University in the first place. It was kind of a fallback position. I kind of left home at that early age and found myself in the fall with no place to go to school without financial help. And Ohio University was a state school.
Oh, I see.
I had a friend who was going to be entering there, and I kind of tagged along with them to look at the school. They invited me in, and I liked the art plant that they had there.
Because you were painting.
I was already painting. I've been making art since I was in a high chair.
Were you a musician then too?
No, I really wasn't. I was late to music. I came in from a visual household.
Oh, so you did. Were there painters in your house?
My mother was a painter. My aunt was a painter. My great-grandfather was a painter.
Oh, so music wasn't your passion. It wasn't a passionate thing like art was.
Well, it was a passion, but it was mostly because I'm a hillbilly from Ohio, and it was bluegrass music and kind of.
Well, when we say Bobby Neuwirth, we talk about so many people that you worked with. I know you worked with, talking about bluegrass and that, with Joan Baez and Greg Muldaur. Were you painting at the same time?
I was, yeah. Whenever I could find a space for a studio.
That's what I was wondering. You were on the road a lot.
Yeah, well, what happened, I went to the museum school.
Oh yeah, let's go back to the museum school.
Okay.
What did you learn there?
I went to the museum school. What I learned there was there were people playing the kind of hillbilly music I knew in coffee houses around Cambridge, and they were getting paid for it. And back those days, my room rent was $7 a week, and these people
in Boston.
In Boston, number 13 Symphony Road, improbably enough, was my address. Little Richard lived across
behind
the street.
Symphony Hall.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
What was he doing, Little Richard? What was he doing?
He was like doing Little Richard things. I think he was actually friends with the Christmas twins, whose parents owned a fried chicken restaurant in Roxbury.
Oh,
and
so
just
you spent a lot of time.
happened to be crashing there.
So you spent a lot of time in Boston? You knew the area well?
I didn't know a thing about it. I went there straight from Ohio and landed, and I lived at 13 Symphony Road because that was the first rented room I found.
Oh, I think that's great.
Yeah, it was really nuts. And
who was teaching at the Museum of Fine Arts?
Jan Cox was the head of the painting department, and I don't remember a lot of my other instructors there. I ran into other things, in the big city that distracted me.
Exactly. So then music must have become your passion.
Yeah, what happened is I found that I could, if I drank enough beer, I could go on stage and make up songs to tunes that I kind of half remembered and get paid for it. And I was making more money doing that than anything else I was trying.
Wasn't that great? But had you been selling any artwork at all?
Not really. I mean, I was an 18-year-old kid here, you know.
So how long did you stay there and sing with those? What were they? Coffee houses, I guess, right?
Yeah, in the coffee houses in Cambridge and Back Bay, Boston.
Yeah.
And, you know, thank God for Jim Dine, who had been a graduate assistant teacher at OU. And he had recommended that I get some drawing help.
Because he knew you were interested in art, he knew your work was good?
Well, he actually, Jim Dine and his beautiful wife Nancy at the time, gave me the basement of their house when I was a freshman there.
Is that right?
And
but he couldn't have been very old either, right?
No, he was very young. He was very young. He was a graduate assistant. He was highly ambitious and sharp.
And you weren't living in his house. What was he painting at the time?
What was he painting? He was making fantastic abstract paintings.
Oh, he was?
They were pretty, I would say they were more influenced by Philip Guston than they were by any pop sensibility at that point.
And Philip Guston was around. Did you know him? Did you meet any artists
Philip
with
Guston?
Jim Dine?
No, you know, it's kind of interesting. The first time I ever went to New York, I went on a Thanksgiving vacation with Jim and Nancy. They gave me a ride to New York, and I had a friend. And, you know, my first night in New York, I wound up in jail.
I think these are the stories I always heard about you.
Yeah. Well, you know, really, it was a fantastic thing. You know, I was with a guy who wanted to steal a loaf of Hero bread. And
Hero, the name of the bread.
Hero loaves,
right?
you know, on Bleecker Street and Zito's Bakery.
But
I'm telling you too much.
But was that the time where you weren't hanging out with, say, Larry Poons and David Novros and Bryce Martin?
No,
at that
this was
time?
way prior.
Way prior to that. But you'd already been to New York, stole your bread,
I went
to
there,
jail.
went to prison, you know, got released by a judge who said, "What is this, Jean Valjean?" And sent me out of the courtroom.
Les Miserables.
Oh, it's hilarious.
So then
I went to the museum school.
I see.
And after 2 years there, I went to Paris.
Oh, that's
living on the streets of Paris, pretending to be an artist.
But you loved all the art you were seeing, so you were being really influenced at that time.
Yeah, well, you know why I loved it so much? I was like practically living in the Louvre.
Isn't that
I was like sleeping in the basement. In those days, you know, all the sculpture was in the basement and nobody ever went down there.
So you could just kind of
I
hang
just
out.
was like, yeah, it was nice and cool.
and then when did you work with Dylan?
Well, then, you know, when I came back from Europe,
Paris?
I worked for a beautiful man named Mr. Turabian, who ran an art supply store in Back Bay, Boston, and I robbed a man blind.
Another Armenian, Mr. Turabian?
Yes, Mr. Turabian, and he was so fantastic. One day I was leaving for, you know, and I stumbled on the stairway, and tubes of paint jumped out of my boot. And he just kind of looked at me with the sweetest eyes and said, "Oh, Bob, I'm so disappointed in you."
That's so
but
sweet.
He didn't fire me or anything. He just said, "Put the paint back." You know, he was really a sweet guy. And he knew that everybody that worked there was a starving artist from one of the art schools in Boston.
Yeah,
either museum school or Mass School of Art. Or
I say another Armenian because I'm in Boston all the time, in Watertown at the Armenian Library and Museum, because I'm on the board there. Yeah. So there were a lot of Armenians when you were there, especially.
Yeah, there were. And this was like, I mean, what a kind-hearted person to run an art supply store, man.
That's so sweet.
So, yeah, so that was, you know.
So then, the only reason I want to get to the tour with Dylan is because then you were doing filmmaking, too. And
okay, well, I'll tie it up real quick. Yeah, then I moved to Berkeley.
That's where it was.
And I was painting out there in Berkeley. And I got a call from Bob Dylan who said, I'm going on tour with Joan, who was a mutual friend of ours. And he said, you know, and then I'm going to England to hang out with the Beatles, and I need somebody to go with me.
Did you know him?
Oh, I'd known him for years.
Oh, you did know him?
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't a cold call.
Way before he had any notoriety at all. And so he said, come on, man, you know, I'll buy you all the paint you want and a leather jacket.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Did you paint all the time?
Yeah.
That's why I wanted to get on tour.
Absolutely.
See how
in fact, I have some great paintings that hung behind Bob Dylan at various concerts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And then those paintings will be in the show.
No, they won't be in there. They weren't
won't.
selected because Christine McKenna selected the paintings and she chose the paintings she wanted. So.
Okay, so let's talk about the show now. I just wanted to bring that in because I knew that you were painting on the road. You were painting all these
always
places,
in painting.
and you made films and etc.
Yeah.
So now we're at Bergamo Station at Track 16, and you're having like almost a retrospective, I would say, right?
Well, Christine McKenna is a writer, and she's done various shows of this type, usually more comprehensively. But she made a selection of pictures that she came to New York and looked at some work that I was doing there, and she looked at my storage space, and she's cobbled together a kind of mini retrospective. There's some paintings from 1964.
That's what I thought, 1964 to 2009.
Yeah.
So it is retrospective in a way, but that started, how old were you then?
In 1964?
I don't know. But you'd already been through
6.
school, right? Had you already been through school?
Yeah, I was living in Cambridge.
Oh, you were?
So it was just after I'd come back from Paris. It was around that time.
So they're really early. Yeah. They're early.
Yeah, exactly. And then Bob Dylan called it like 1965, and we went and did Don't Look Back, the movie.
The movie, yeah. Which is a classic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. D.A. Pennebaker.
Yes.
And then I painted in Woodstock for a while.
But the thing that I think is so great is you hung around with these great artists.
Yeah.
And I mentioned Larry Poons and David Novros and Bryce Martin, all friends
Robert
of ours.
Smithson.
I don't know Robert Smithson, but I know Bryce.
Frosty Myers.
I know. So you were like part of that art gang in New York.
Yeah,
Did
in
you
a
see
way.
Warhol? Were you with Warhol?
Yeah, actually. Well, I didn't hang out at the factory.
So
I did go to Max's, so.
Yes, I know.
I remember you from Max's.
That's where we met you at different places like that, but not per se with the people that you were talking about before. Do you live here now?
I live in Santa Monica.
So you gave up New York?
Well, and you know what? I've never really given up New York. I don't think you do give up New York.
No. But do you have
I had a studio there until last winter.
Oh, because I was going to say, did you always have a studio to paint in?
I haven't always had a studio to paint in, and that's problematic. In fact, I'm looking now. Do you know of any places? Anyway, I lost my studio last winter, so now everything's here.
When you paint, do you listen to music?
I do listen to music.
Oh, so what kind of music do you listen to?
I listen to all kinds of music. I listen to a lot of classical music. I listen to like Brahms piano quartets and things. I listen to bluegrass music.
Oh, so it's a big mix.
Yeah, I listen to. I listen to just about anything.
And as a musician, what do you play?
I play. I don't really play much.
What do you do?
I pose around on stringed instruments like the guitar.
Oh, you do. And do you write?
The banjo.
Do you write?
Yes, I write songs.
So you write and you play the banjo and the guitar and anything else musical? Do you sing?
I had a song in Crazy Heart. Did you see that movie?
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
But did you sing it?
Huh?
I love that movie.
That was a good movie, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges.
I love that movie. You wrote a song for that movie?
The first song you hear.
Oh, I'm so glad.
There you go.
Thank you.
And I co-wrote it. Let's put it that way. Other people had a finger in that pie.
I like it. And I like that you came on today. Thank you so much.
Thanks for letting me be here. Appreciate it.
And don't go away. We'll be right back with composer, another musician, Artie Butler. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Composer, arranger, pianist, Artie Butler was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. He attended Erasmus High School with Barbra Streisand, and the two have worked together on many occasions, including the work on her films What's Up, Doc and For Pete's Sake. He worked with my friend Iris Rayner Dart on the new Broadway musical, The People in the Picture, and you must have been great friends with Barbra.
We're great acquaintances. Is that a phrase?
But you also are probably a great pianist since you started at age 4.
4.5 years old.
How could you?
You know what? It was a piece of furniture in my house that made noise when I touched it, and it attracted me, unlike a coffee table. And I found that when you press those things on top of it, it catered to your moods. You know, and at an early age, it became my enchanted forest.
That's fantastic.
I just don't know how to explain it other than that.
Were there people?
And it still is.
Were there people musical in your family? Why was there a piano there?
Well, everybody in Brooklyn, in my apartment house, most kids had a piano or an accordion. God forbid.
Oh, an accordion, yes.
Accordion. It was accordion. There were a lot of pianos, you know, and drums, and it was my father bought a piano, and it's still, as I said, it's still my enchanted forest. Nothing's changed. The address has changed, the piano's changed, but it's still the place I go to.
The funny thing, I was just in Seattle at Dale Chihuly's studio, and he collects accordions. He's got piles of accordions. I mean, they're all on all the bookshelves. Could you ever play that?
Is that the secret burial ground
of the
ivory tusks that I heard about? Really?
They are. Did you play the accordion?
No, thank God I didn't.
Is it the same?
You know, there's an old funny joke that goes around, the definition of a gentleman. Somebody knows how to play accordion but won't.
Oh. You can say that about anything.
No. And there are some marvelous accordion players. Of course. No, I did not play accordion.
You were on a career path with the piano. What changed?
You know what? I still play the piano. I just don't play the piano for a living.
Right.
I use the piano as a writing tool. I was a successful pianist in the New York recording scene. When I became an arranger, I made a choice to be known as a writer, arranger, composer, and only play on my own sessions.
I see. You play on your own sessions.
Yeah.
So you make the arrangement. You put yourself in it.
Sometimes, if I wanted the sound of what I do. Otherwise, there was a choice of some wonderful pianists available.
You know, you've been nominated for Grammys and Emmys and now Tonys for
Donna Murphy, the delicious, wonderful, I can't find the adjectives, star of our show, The People in the Picture. I was nominated for a Tony.
I know, congratulations.
Thank you. She's unbelievable. She's a magician.
But what did you do to be nominated for a Grammy?
I wrote the arrangement for Dionne Warwick for I Know I'll Never Love This Way Again.
The best.
That was a thrill. You know?
And then you also had an Emmy, the Sinatra?
Nominated for an Emmy for the Sinatra miniseries based on the life of Frank Sinatra. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more. How did you actually get started? I think the story of playing your piano and then being in the Brill Building, which everyone says, the Brill Building. Well, I've been in the elevator there. But
well, I was working in a department store, a record department of the Corvettes, which was a famous department store in New York. And a guy comes in and he says, he used to come in a lot, and I used to help him a lot, and I was knowledgeable about jazz and which cuts were in which albums, and he was a bit of a pain, and nobody wanted to wait on him, and I liked him. He was a grumpy guy, and I liked him, and he said, "How'd you like to work in a recording studio?" And I said, "I'd love to." So you should always be nice to people, because you never know where it leads.
I believe in that.
So be nice to me.
I am. I believe in that. I was nice to you.
You were. Was I nice to you? Or not?
Yes, you were.
Told you your lipstick was great.
Thank you.
I was nice to him, and he got me a job in a recording studio, and it was Bell Sound Studios, which was the biggest, one of the biggest independent studios in New York at the time. And Lieber and Stoller, who were at the top of their game, the independent recording producers and writers, and so successful at the time, they were doing a session one day, and the piano player who they hired for the orchestra couldn't cut the part. And I was sitting back there. I had a job there as a button pusher, and it's called a button
That's
pusher.
what this
No, because in those days to start the tape machines, you had to push the buttons
Oh, I see.
because they were not automatic then, and you had to push the buttons to start the tape machine. So that was my job, a button pusher. So I said, I can play that part, Mr. Stoller. Mr. Lieber, I can play that part. And you weren't supposed to talk to the clients. So the engineer turned around and gave me that death look. I knew my job was. So
Your
I
button
said,
pushing
my
was
button
finished.
pushing was finished. Or not finished, but hey, I knew I was going to be taking a test. So they said, Artie, you can do it. I said, I can do it. So at the end of the session, they let the orchestra go, and they said, go do it. So I went and I played it, and I came back in the booth, and I said, and I can also play the blues.
Oh my God.
And you know how I look at it, Joan? I look at it like this is a little funny, but I look at it like we were all born with a telephone inside of us. And it's a little poetic. We're all born with a telephone, and once in a while, we all get a phone call.
Oh,
But sometimes people don't answer the call. And that was a call that day. That was my call. And I answered the call. But you got to be able to do the job too, you know.
Exactly.
And it was the day I got a call. So they said, come quit your job and work for us.
Is that right?
That's exactly what happened. So I gave my notice, and I wouldn't leave the Bell Sound flat. So I trained somebody, and about a month and a half, 2 months later, I went to work to Emmett the Brill Building. So this is God's honest true story. I got to tell you this. The day I went to work in their office, I stood in front of the Brill Building. I was like 17 and a half years old, 18, I don't know how old I was. I looked in front of the Brill Building. I stood in front. I talked to the building. I said to the Brill Building, this is God's honest truth. I said, Brill Building? This is innocence. This is innocence. I said, Brill Building? So a month and a half ago, I used to deliver tapes to you. I said, now I'm walking inside you, and I'm going to become a part of your history. I don't know what this means, but remember, I'm walking inside you.
You were that.
I was that innocent.
But you were also so awestruck.
I was awestruck and starry-eyed, and I'm going to tell you something. Here, the people in the picture opens up. This truth opens up 2 weeks ago on 54th Street at the Roundabout Theater at
Studio 54.
Studio 54, Roundabout Productions, Studio 54. Across the street, diagonally across the street from where Bell Sound used to be. 51 years later.
Oh, you're giving me the shivers.
Now here's this Jewish kid from Flatbush. I call it Deja Jew. I don't know what to call it. Across the street from where I started 51 years ago.
Oh, I can't believe it.
So I tell my son, I said, Carrie, 51 years it took me to cross the street. He looks at me and says, Dad, you drive like that. It's the way you drive.
But it's amazing.
51 years ago, across the street I started from, and I went to Lieber and Stoller's office, and of course I have truly, and I say this humbly, have been so blessed to have worked with the best of the best of the best. And
you
now-
have
and
all
now
the best. You have a list of the best.
I don't have that ego. I was blessed, given a gift, and I had the gift to know how to make it, to know how to go after it. And I don't have. I use what I have, and I love what I do. Like when I leave you, I'm gonna go have a hot dog and go to work, and I'm so happy to be able to say that.
And what will you do when you go to work? Will you compose? Will you
go,
arrange?
I'm working on a song. I'm gonna go that I have an idea for a song. I can't wait to go home and write it because I have an idea for something. I got up 4:30 this morning, and I had a little.
Did you jot it down?
No, I have a little computer program that I use,
Oh,
a
you
software
did?
program, and I got 8 bars of it down, and I got dressed to come here, and we've been sitting outside for 2.5 hours to come see you.
Oh, please,
I'm kidding you, but it was worth the wait because we're having fun.
But let me tell you, when you cross the street,
But I'm going to go home and I'm going to go finish this song because it's in my brain. I have a little recorded I carry in the car.
Oh, you do?
And I sing the rest of it so that when I get home I'll complete it.
So you'll sing it to your
I sang it to myself in the car.
I see.
So that I can go home and finish the song.
And then do you write the music
I
and
write
the
the
words?
music. I don't write lyrics.
You don't write lyrics?
I don't write lyrics.
So
I
you've
have
got the
ideas
music.
I have the idea for the rest of the song. So I'm thrilled. you know, it's full circle for me. A Broadway show.
Yeah,
come
I
on.
know. Let me say that because you always worked with Jerry Lieber and Mike
Stoller,
Stoller.
right, when I was a
but
kid,
now
right.
on this, you're working just with Mike.
I worked with just Mike. Jerry was not involved with it because he's
Yes.
a lyricist. And Iris Rayner Dart wrote the book and lyrics on this show.
Iris, an old friend.
Is she really? Oh,
Very,
she's the best.
she's
Hurricane
great.
Iris.
Is that what you call her?
She's the Energizer Bunny.
Actually,
she doesn't stop.
I saw the show, and
you
it was
did?
fantastic.
Oh.
Yeah, I couldn't believe Donna Murphy.
Well, I'm so glad you saw the show because I was going to invite you to be my guest.
Oh.
Because she's unbelievable, Donna Murphy.
Yeah,
She
was
changes
great.
from an old woman to a young woman.
I know.
She has menopause 8 times a night.
And what is she? She's like 19 or 20 to 90 or 80
She
or
goes
90.
from like 70 to 50.
And back and forth.
Eight times a night, eight shows a week.
So tell me, how does Broadway find someone like you, and how does this show continue to have a life?
Well, here's how I got involved with the show. Iris wanted Mike Stoller to write the music, and so he was writing the score, and then they wanted to make some demos so they could sell the songs. She got it, and they needed some arrangements. So she emailed Mike and said, "Do you ever hear of a guy named Artie Butler? And do you like him?" So he emailed it back. He says, "Yes, I've heard of him, and I don't like him. I love him." So they hired me, and the demos came out well. And Mike said, "Let's invite Artie in to co-compose the score with me."
Oh,
it was Mike's idea.
How lovely!
And
With the music.
I look at it like the gift that keeps giving. Because I've
Really?
been with Mike since I'm a kid.
But the music is like has this ethnic quality, of course.
Yeah,
and
it needed to have. Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you bring that into your into your being when you've done like a Barbra Streisand new album?
Well, you know, when you're a painter, you paint a lot of types of things. And you don't only paint one thing. I'm a composer and an arranger. You don't only compose and arrange one type. That's what this show needed. And was that type of thing. This new song I'm writing is a Stone Cold rock and roll song, a blues song.
That's what I mean.
So you write what you feel, you know. That's the creative soul, you know, in me, you know. And listen, I'll be 69 my next birthday.
Yay.
A lot of guys my age are playing golf 4 days a week.
You don't want
and
to
that's
do
what
that.
they do. That's a dirty word to me.
No, you don't want to do that. You want to be hanging out with people like George Burns and
Can I just tell you a fast story? This was Milton Berle's 83rd birthday party. And George Burns said, "Artie, come here, sit down next to me." So I sat down next to him. I knew George. And he says, "The reason why I asked you to sit down next to me," he says, "I don't like you, Artie. I just was afraid of falling over." That's what he said. And this was taken in Las Vegas. I was in my 20s. I was about 25 years old. With Louis Armstrong. When we recorded "What a Wonderful World."
Oh.
I made that record.
And what did you do
I arranged
for that?
it.
You arranged it.
I'd like to tell you I wrote it.
You arranged it.
I wish I wrote it, but I didn't. And this was taken in Las Vegas. He had just gotten off the stage at the Tropicana. We recorded in the middle of the night. And God rest him. Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
I think that's a good way to say goodbye to you.
Oh,
Kisses
hello.
to
I'd
you.
like to see you again.
Kisses.
I'm asking you out.
Thank you. Thanks for watching. Keep writing to JAQUINN1@AOL.com and 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. Bye.